Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Puppet Time Online. I'm your host, Eric Wright. That's brought to you by the Puppet Kitchen, your home for professional puppetry. And Puppet Time Online is your chance to sit down with some of the puppetry community's finest and me and to learn about what they know about. Today, very special episode. It's just me. And Katie, as usual. I've got Katie
here too.
I think I'm streaming live on Instagram right now. Am I live on Instagram right now? It's been so long since we streamed on Instagram Live, which is where this show started. And we thought today, what I'd like to do today is to do like kind of a year in review. It's been almost a year since we started this show. And so I thought it would be fun to like kind of do a look back at all of the amazing things that the Puppet Kitchen has been doing over this last year. You know, we're coming up on the year anniversary of a lot of different things. And I thought this might be a good opportunity. Let me just check and see if we're on Instagram Live, because I want to like say hello to all the followers on Instagram. No, we're not live yet on there. Okay, let me look. Let me just see if I can do this again. Hold on. Is this working? Is this going to happen? Okay, now it's about to happen. Hey everybody, I am online. I'm live. This is Puppet Time Online. We're coming back to Instagram Live to tell you that we're on YouTube Live right now. So head over to YouTube Live. And hello YouTube Live. We're on Instagram. So go ahead and check out each other. You guys should say hi to each other. Check it out. It's like an endless loop of live streams.
We're also on Facebook.
And we're on Facebook and Twitch right now. So like we're all over, we're streaming everywhere. But you guys should all say hi to each other. And for those of you who are joining us on Instagram Live, come on over to YouTube Live, where we are now, where Puppet Kitchen or Puppet Time Online happens every week. Today it's a very special episode where it's going to be the sort of pandemic year in review. And so go on over to youtube.com/PuppetKitchen. You can check us out there.
Or Facebook. Or
you can check us out on Facebook. And the Puppet Kitchen's Facebook page will have that streaming. I don't know what do we do with this Instagram Live?
You say thanks so much for watching, 4 people.
Yeah, look, we'll just put it. We'll just set you guys up over here. You guys, well, let's look for the Instagram Live people. For the people who are on Instagram Live, we can give you a little behind the scenes at what our setup looks like. So you can, now that I'm a streamer, you can see like. Here is, I have a little iPad set up, and look, I'm a proper Instagrammer because I've got my ring light going, and I've got all my notes and stuff for the script still typed up in paper, and then printed out. And that's a microphone I use sometimes, but I don't actually use it for streaming online. I guess I get a good enough sound. Maybe that'll be next level. And then always off to my right is Katie, who helps me from in her PJs, which is as it should be during this time. So you'll be able to hear her off camera as usual, but she's right over there.
Hi.
And she, keeps the show running smoothly. Which I should mention, actually, if you are watching on YouTube Live, you can put your questions and comments. Today is all for you, the viewers. So if you have any questions for me about anything really, put them in the comments down below. If you're on Facebook, I think the comments are over here. But let me know. Katie will catch them and she'll put them up on the screen, and we'll be able to chat. It'll be fun. And for all of you who are watching on Instagram Live, head over to YouTube. We're going to turn off this live stream in just a second. Go over to youtube.com/puppet the Puppet Kitchen, and we'll see you over there. Did I miss anything on Instagram Live? I don't know. You guys are great. Thank you, Instagram Live followers, for starting off this show. And now, just like it happened in real life, we're going to sign off of Instagram and go over to YouTube. It's over here. Okay, we'll see you over there. Okay, great. I think everything's good. Oh man. Okay, I gotta like change. There we go. Okay, gotta pick a thing. Oh my gosh, Katie, will you write a title and description while I'm talking? Because we got people watching now. So thank you so much for being here. Normally what happens on Puppet Time Online is we have a guest from the puppetry community come on, and I ask them questions about how they got started in puppetry and then about things that they know about. If they're a choreographer that's worked with puppetry, like my interview with Eleanor Scott, we talked to them about what it's like to choreograph with puppets. If they're shadow puppeteers, like my interview with Julia Miller from Manual Cinema, we talked to them about shadow puppetry, but we also talked to them about running a business and like what it's like to, run a small arts business, specifically a puppetry business in this country. We occasionally, if we're lucky, have guests from overseas, like my interview with Jimmy Grimes, which was incredible. And we looked at, talked about mechanisms and working during the pandemic and just, the culture of puppetry in the UK right now. So we have really great guests. We have another great guest next week. We're going to talk to Tom Lee, who's out in Chicago and is doing incredible work with shadow puppetry, with projections, with Kurumin Ingyo puppetry, which is a kind of variation on Bunraku style puppetry. He's an incredible puppeteer and a dear, dear friend of mine from way back in the very first professional show that I was in, Hiroshima Maiden, back in 2003. He was a part of that cast as well. So I'm really excited to talk with him again and catch up and talk puppets. But for today, I wanted to give an opportunity for your questions, whatever they may be. And it reminded me of a West Wing episode that they call the Big Block of Cheese Day. And
best.
Katie's a big fan of West Wing, and obviously I'm a big fan of the West Wing, but the lore is that Andrew Jackson wheeled a giant block of cheese into the West Wing and allowed everyone to come and eat it. There was the one day where they opened the doors to the White House for the common people to come present their questions that wouldn't normally have a chance. Anyway, it's of course like lots of political lore. It's a myth. I mean, it's like it's a legend, but it's a nice idea, right? So like giving a chance for people to ask questions that might not get a chance to. So this is your chance, and we can chat about puppetry or like what it's like to run a small business or any of the projects that I'm going to talk about, which is like all the stuff that we've been doing over the past year in lockdown. Wait, someone have a question already?
Well, just to get it started off on a positive note, I felt like we should show this. Just so you know,
Jesse,
people are out there watching.
Jesse is asking why am I so awesome?
And that they love you.
Just lucky, I guess.
That's so nice.
Probably, I don't know, but all I can add, I guess my response to that is, Jesse, why do you have such great taste? I think is my.
You're so humble. We also have a great question from YouTube.
Oh, great.
Pop that up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's from Tegan Moon. Have you noticed if slams have had more submissions now that they're mostly online, or have there been less? That's a great question. I actually don't know. I think that would be a good question for the folks that are like consistently running slams. I feel like I'm lucky to be a spectator of puppet slams, and even luckier to be a participant from time to time. Katie and I did the National Puppet Slam this year, as well as Puppet Playlist number 30 home, which was really fun. But I will say I have been impressed with I mean, maybe it's because I'm looking for stuff online more, or maybe it's because like everybody's online and that's kind of all in the same place right now. So I'm seeing all the stuff that's happening. But I do feel like it's happening more frequently right now. But it's something I pointed out in one of our first shows. I pointed out that I feel like puppetry is always really an adaptable art form. Like it's always living in the gray areas between, media that gets more attention maybe, or in the gray areas between other artistic media, like classical dramatic theater or musical theater or photography or animation, or like it lives in the in-between areas, and it's always adapting to the boundaries that are put on it.
And who said the other day it's always on its way out and having a resurgence at the same time?
Yeah, exactly. But there's another quote that was like, puppetry is a dying art form, and it's one of the only dying art. It's a dying art form that's been dying for 3,000 years.
Yeah.
But it's really true, and I feel like the number of online slams, like seeing puppeteers turn on their cameras and adapt their shows for online streaming audiences, that's what puppeteers do. Like if you give them 5 minutes on stage, they'll make a show that fits in 5 minutes on stage. If you give them a 5-minute time slot, if you give them a 5-minute opportunity to make a 5-minute film, they'll make a 5-minute film puppet show. And I think that in this time right now during lockdown, everybody is being forced to be more creative about how to live life, because we're given all these new boundaries. And I think puppeteers are kind of just used to that, because that's just what the job is about. That's just what the art form kind of encompasses. But it's a great question. Thank you for asking. Let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff that Puppet Kitchen has been up to. So just to say as a blanket statement, like I feel super fortunate in a lot of ways that Puppet Kitchen has been able to remain active. I have worked really hard to be able to catch any opportunities that have come my way, and I've worked really hard to try and find opportunities to work, just like a lot of people have been doing. I have been focusing Puppet Kitchen for a couple of years, even before the pandemic hit. We moved out of the Puppet Kitchen studio in 2017. And so the company as a whole had to change and had to adapt. And I had 2 years, to think about what that adaptation would be like. And in a lot of ways, it was about how to run the company out of this home office that I have, and how to be flexible and adaptable, and to still continue to do the good work that Puppet Kitchen is known for, with a different set of circumstances. And so when the pandemic hit, when we had lockdown, while there were a lot fewer opportunities than there have been in the past, I felt like I worked really hard at being flexible and seeking out opportunities that maybe weren't there before. Some of that was in creating my own work, and that was really new for me this year. And I'm really happy with the work of my own that I got to make this year. Some of that is the puppet playlist piece that Katie and I made together. We sort of revived an older piece of ours, an older puppet playlist piece of ours for the National Slam, and adapted that for live streaming. Early days of the lockdown, I had been working with IBM on some of their industrial videos. Or previous to the lockdown, I've been working with them on industrial videos, doing interviews with some of their staff and management. And it was a blast to just talk with people sort of in a corporate setting and get them to interact with the puppet and get them to open up. And when shortly after we went into lockdown, they contacted me about doing some interviews over WebEx and over video, which sort of led to the idea of having a puppet available for your Zoom meetings, which led to Meeting Monster, which I'm really, really happy about, and developing this concept. So, this puppet was a puppet that had been the foundations of it had been built by David Bizzaro during the IBM project, had never been finished because it turned out they needed fewer puppets. And then when this idea started forming, I worked with Jamie Bressler to finish off the puppet. And then Olga, my managing director here at Puppet Kitchen, and I worked to sort of develop this Meeting Monster concept and get it out there. Here's Mr. Monster at the computer at Puppet Kitchen's website, puppetkitchen.com, of course. But it's this service where you can sign up to have a puppet drop into your Zoom call for 5 or 10 minutes and just kind of lighten the mood. And I've done a bunch of them. They've been really, really fun. And you should feel welcome to book your own meeting monster for whatever Zoom you want. We've done some like little kid birthday parties, which are a blast, of course. But we have done. I've dropped in on a meeting of deans at NYU. I dropped in on an administrative meeting at the University of Nebraska. I've dropped
book club.
Yeah, I've dropped in on a couple book clubs that we're meeting over Zoom, and it's just a blast. Like it's 5 and 10 minutes of just like something new, and it's really fun, especially now that we're all used to staring at screens all day and we're getting a little tired. It's something to kind of lighten that up. So I'm really, really proud of that new thing that Puppet Kitchen has been able to bring. Other new stuff that is more personal is that I got an opportunity to apply and was given a grant from Ibex Theater's Handmade Puppet Dreams mini quarantine commissions, or quarantine micro commissions, what they're called. I was a part of a cohort of about a dozen artists that received those grants, and we all set about to make short films under 8 minutes long during lockdown, and they all premiered to the public on the 27th, which is not last weekend, but a couple weekends ago. And they just all turned out incredibly well. Mine is called The Moon is Cheese, and it's basically a new retelling. It's a retelling of an old fable about a fox tricking a wolf into thinking the moon is made out of cheese. So many words. Anyway, this is a little behind the scenes photo that we have. This was my setup for this movie, which it looks a little crazy, but that's kind of also a reflection of what my mind looked like at the time.
I was gonna say, this is like serial killer puppet plotting.
Thanks, Katie. So the idea here, the way you're looking at here is this is a rig that I bought at B&H Photo Video. That's like for rigging your camera to shoot down at a table. And what's missing in this picture is the iPhone that goes into the bracket that gets plugged in. And I shot everything on my iPhone. I have a couple of little LED lights, a couple little IKEA lights to light everything up. And then I made this little box, which you can see here. It's all very small, and like this is my set, and it has a couple layers so that I can create a sort of depth of scenery in each picture. I think you have a couple of pictures of what the finished products look like too. Yeah, so here's the wolf sort of getting upset, but that's all fitting into this little box. It's all shot from above, and everything is manipulated, from the side, I guess, as if it was being viewed from the front. And I made hundreds of puppets. This is just a bunch of the birds, some lemmings in various close and far appearances, some bunnies, a bear, and a squirrel. And it's all done in cut paper, and it's all done with things that you can find around the house. This set that I've made is made with a little bit of foam, some cardboard, and a couple sewing pins, and lots and lots of paper. Yeah, there's a question you want to
We
throw
got
in?
a question from the audience.
Oh, hi, Jess. Jess, are those facial expressions along the side? Oh, yeah, great question. You want to show the backstage? So yeah, I don't know if you can zoom in on this one a little bit. But yes, so along with the cut paper, so because it was all cut paper, the way that I would change the expression of the fox and the wolf is that I would cut out new expressions and tape them to their face with like temporary double stick tape. So this is just like I put a piece of tape up on the upright and then would just stick things to it so that I could reuse things later. And I would have laid it out horizontally, but like as you can see, space was at a premium. And the other fun part was that I tried to plan ahead and like map out all of the features that I needed and cut those out first. But as I was shooting, I would also then just load up some colors of paper with double stick tape and cut out features as needed and stick them on and do the scene and then move to the next bit. And I also cut out, just like bunches and bunches of little eye patches, and then I would draw those in immediately before the scene, and then, shoot it. So that's kind of that technique. Yeah.
We've got another great question.
Hi, Teddy. I'm so glad
I
you're
feel
watching.
like Teddy is shouting that question at you from his open mouth.
Hi. Getting your work out there this year, have you had to teach yourself about video editing? Great question. Well, the short answer is yes. I had to teach myself about video editing for the movie, For the Moon is Cheese. I worked on a couple of other projects that were video projects, and one of them, Hansel and Gretel, that I did for Little Orchestra Society, this one. I fortunately didn't have to worry about the editing. I shot all the footage and sent it to Craig Shemaine, who did all the editing. I was very lucky that he directed the project and also edited it. For The Moon is Cheese, yeah, I was in a crash course. Like, I had done a little bit of basic editing before, and I edited the whole movie in iMovie. There was a time when I was eyeballing some of the more high-end editing programs like Premiere and I don't even remember what Final Cut. Yeah. And I was eyeballing them, and I was like, it was just too much. It was too much to like learn how to use this new tool in addition to learn how to make a movie. And so and
also pretty cost prohibitive.
Yeah, some of them are very cost prohibitive. There is a free, like Blackmagic does put out one called DaVinci Resolve that is basically free, a free version of this. And that was the one I was aiming towards. But again, it was like super overwhelming, and it was distracting from actually just making a movie. And so I made a decision to like go with what I knew and try and push iMovie to like I did figure out like the limits of what iMovie can do. And it does have some like precision editing tools in it, and it does export to ProRes, which is great. So like,
you kind of had the same thing with trying to figure out a camera. Like, did you want to shoot on your iPhone or not?
Very similar. I had a lot of headache going back and forth about whether to buy a DSLR, like a nice camera, or like some other fancy video camera or whatever. And the cost was a thing, so I was trying to justify that, and ended up just like doing some tests on my iPhone and thinking like, I already know how to use this. This is basically all I need it for. It's just like, it's shooting this far away, and I can look like I can peer over it to use that as a monitor. The downside of using an iPhone is that there's no way to get a lag-free monitor. So for puppeteers, that's a real downfall. Like, there's just by now I feel like I've tried every trick in the book. I think some people have put mirrors up behind their iPhone to use that, and like, I don't know. Anyways, I just kind of like had to figure it out. But I decided to go like try and find the limits of what I had available and what I knew how to use, because it just cut down the number of things that I was worrying about. I was worrying about so much, as you do on every project. Yeah, you have another.
We got another great question.
Oh, from Radio Wasteland Productions. Have you thought more about doing talk show with puppets? That's a great question, Radio Wasteland. Thank you. I would love to do a talk show with puppets. Actually, the Disney Channel came out with the Earth to Ned, which is basically a talk show with puppets. And I watched a couple episodes, and I'm excited about that show. It's pretty fun, and it is cool. You can kind of see how having people interact with a puppet, like it makes for a different interaction. Like, people loosen up with puppets. They like interact with puppets differently. Like, it makes for a good show. So I would love to do more where the puppet is doing the interviewing. And that, yeah, hopefully someday that will be a thing that I get to do more of. I do also like, or I have grown to like a little more, this format of sort of streaming and talking to puppeteer friends of mine, person to person. Just because it has sort of opened up the idea of how genuinely curious I am of all of the cool things that my friends do, and all of the cool things that people in this community do. And I've had a lot of fun sort of exploring that curiosity, which is something that is a big part of who I am. Is I like to curate that curiosity. I like to develop that curiosity in myself, and this is a really good way to, I feel like I can share how that works, and it just means I get to talk to cool people all the time.
Speaking of talk shows and puppets, something cool happened today.
Oh yeah. I'm so wrapped in other stuff. Thanks for that segue.
It's a clean segue.
Very clean segue. So I'm very excited to announce today that that I was in a segment on The Daily Show that aired today. It's their special episode called Remotely Educational. And I am in a short segment as a puppet with Jordan Klepper about cryptocurrency. And it's really fun. I believe Katie can put the link to, it's up on the Comedy Central website. It's called Remotely Educational. I think Katie can put the link in the chat so you can all check it out. I'm at the 18-minute mark, but you should watch the whole thing because it's really good. And yeah, we filmed that a couple of weeks ago. Again, that was one of the foundation puppets that David Bizzaro started during the IBM project. And then Jamie Bressler finished it with my design. And then she and I went to the Daily Show studios, and she was my right-hand puppeteer, and I was the character of Smugly, which is just, it was a delight. And we filmed this a couple of weeks ago, and it was a really incredible feeling of getting some sense of normalcy, like getting back to some sense of normalcy, where we actually went down to the studio and filmed with a person in the same room, or with a team in the same room. And it, you know, of course, all the COVID precautions were taken. They did a great job of communicating, you know, how this was going to be different than other shoots. But in the end, it was like just like I mentioned, like a person in a room talking to a puppet. Like it's just a tangible difference that you can feel, which is really fun. So I'm very excited about that. Go check it out. It also airs on Comedy Central tonight at 11. You can check it out online. Wait, didn't I send you the link for it?
Where is it? I'll find it.
Okay, don't find it. It's called Remotely Educational.
Oh, okay. I'll find it.
Yeah. Anyways, that we were a little late getting on the air with the show today, so it was a bit of a scramble. I'm sure I've copied it and then didn't paste it.
Here it is. I found it.
Yeah, see, there we go.
YouTube.
It's the whole thing's on YouTube.
I'll figure it out.
There's a trailer that's on YouTube that I watched this morning, and then the whole thing's on Comedy Central. Katie's gonna find it. Anyways, Katie's looking for that, so she's gonna. But if you have questions about other stuff, put them in the chat. We'll get to them in a second. Other stuff that the Puppet Kitchen has been up to this year. So I was in Little Shop of Horrors off Broadway with Teddy, who just asked a question, as the two puppeteers operating Audrey 2, the big man-eating plant, which was really just like a dream come true job. The cast is incredible. The crew was amazing. Like the show was so good. We were having a blast. And then we were in rehearsals about to put Jeremy Jordan in the role of Seymour. And we were all told to go home. And that was, a year ago on the 12th. So that was super sad. But one perk that came out of that, or one like bright spot that came out of that, is during the pandemic, our original cast album was nominated for a Grammy, and a couple actually. And so I'm super excited about that. Obviously the Grammys have been postponed a little bit, but I think they're still happening this month.
They're actually happening, I think, this week.
So cross your fingers for Little Shop to win a Grammy, because that would be just ridiculously good news. I mentioned that we worked with IBM on their WebEx, and we did a little bit of work with them, also doing some book readings with the character that they had created for the children of IBM employees, which was a blast to do. And then a big project that we worked on over the lockdown was a project called Cozy Corner, which is just starting to go live and do some programming on Facebook. And it was a wonderful project that a friend of mine from my Yukon days, back when I went to the University of Connecticut to study puppetry, Faye Duprat, who is in Boston now, developed a show, Cozy Corner, for kids that combines music and these beautiful puppets and fun characters. She developed it as a live show, and when everyone went into lockdown, she was in the process of turning it into a YouTube series and to a video series. So she continued with that. She asked me to redesign all of the characters. And so we, put a lot of thought and a lot of effort into like what the perfect look of these characters is going to be. And I worked with Jamie Bressler to build these, and I'm just super, super happy with how they turned out. We designed, this is Rory, the main character, and his
tiny, adorable turtle. That's his unofficial name.
The turtle's name is Mr. Cuddles, and he is Rory's stuffed animal who sometimes comes to life.
And he can hold him.
There's little magnets in his hands, so you can hold on to him. So I'm really happy with how Rory came out. And Mr. Cuddles. This is Ruby Robin, which has a really nice little flapping mech in it. And she has really fun little glasses that we found for her. I believe her whole design was centered around those glasses. Like I found them and I was like, those are the ones, this is defining the whole character. It was really fun. This is Spencer the Snail, who is also a favorite of mine. We really focused a lot on the textures of this show and getting some different looking textures for a kid's show so that it wasn't just fleece and fur or just the same fleece and fur that you see. So his shell is actually wrapped in cable knit sweaters that Jamie carefully like unpieced and stitched back together. I think she did an incredible job. He has a really cool mech that bends his antenna independently and together like that, which I'm really proud of. Here's Mr. Cuddles on a guitar, and
he's cuddling the
guitar. There's a great program on. I believe they did a great show on Facebook Live last weekend called Mr. Cuddles is Missing, and I believe they'll have more programming similarly. Oh yeah, and there's the squirrel too. His name is Squirrel, and again with the textures, like I was really excited about making a squirrel puppet that was a little bit different texture than what you were used to. His hat, also, which has little magnets in it so it could come on and off, is modeled after a hat that I used to wear in high school that was like my signature cap. And then he also wears suspenders like I am often wont to do. So I feel very close kinship with Squirrel here. But you should definitely check out Cozy Corner. You can see some videos with some of the previous puppets on cozycornerseries.org, I believe. And Katie could put that in the chat so you guys can go check them out. And you can follow them on Facebook, and they're going to be doing some wonderful new stuff. I think I also wanted to shout out the credit for those great photos too. Did you see that? Oh no, it's right here. I do have it in front of me. It's like it's in that thing that I printed out. It was Chris McIntosh who of C Macintosh Photo that did those Cozy Corner photos, and they just turned out great. I'm really happy about it. So that's so Cozy Corner happened, and it was a really fabulous project. I was really excited about. We also did some work with Meeting Monster with the Houseman Quartet, which is a really cool chamber orchestra group. We did some Zoom recordings of books that the Meeting Monster helped introduce, and it was great to be a part of that project. We worked on we did a prop for a show on HBO. I don't know actually if we can talk about it, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But we did do some specialty prop work, which was really fun. And another big project was the Hansel and Gretel for Little Orchestra Society. We did The Moon is Cheese, obviously, and then the newest project that we just delivered was also for a children's book called Hamish the Kitchen Critter. And so this is Hamish the Hedgehog. Again, the character is designed by P.J. Tierney, the author of the book, and it's a really great book series about teaching kids about being in the kitchen and learning to cook, which I can absolutely get behind 100%. So, so I.
A little comment. Teddy would just like a shout. He would die for him.
We have some really good close-ups too. I'm really happy with how, like Jamie, again, Jamie Bressler was on the build for this. And I did the puppet design, but really a lot of it was in Jamie's hands. And I think she just did amazing work. We did this great stencil on using the Cricut machine for his hat and his apron. And I think she just did really, really incredible work. And he moves well. He's going to be such a character. I'm really excited to see what comes of Hamish. So that's been really fun. And then the Daily Show happened just recently. In terms of other things that have happened that are Puppet Kitchen related, during the pandemic, the show that was I guess it was the last show that the Puppet Kitchen was a part of before we moved out of the space, Little Red Fish, streamed on the New York City Children's Theater website.
Get it?
Yeah, the Little Red Fish was in the stream.
I'm surprised that you
didn't get
jump on that. That feels like an Eric joke.
But they put the fish in the stream.
They put the fish in the stream.
Little Red Fish in the stream. And it was, I'm also really proud of that show. Emily DeCola directed that show, and there's an incredible cast. And it was such a beautiful show based on children's book of the same name. I don't believe that stream is still available to see, but New York City Children's Theater is doing incredible work, and you should definitely follow them and check them out. You can find them at nycchildrenstheater.org. So I was very happy about that. Also, we had done some, during the pandemic, or I guess before the pandemic, we did some coaching for a woman named Julie Cavalieri, who was learning to be a puppeteer for a movie that she had written. She had written herself into a movie where she needed to be she was the daughter of a puppeteer, and so she needed to be a very good puppeteer. And so she called us up for some consultation and training, which is a service that Puppet Kitchen provides. And I went down there. We brought in David Bizzaro to meet with her, and Spencer Lott to meet with her, to get her up to speed on how to be a puppeteer, and specifically how to be a puppeteer for her show. And her movie just came out and is getting some accolades at various festivals. It's called Puppet Me. And we're really proud of the work that she's done on that movie. Did you have a question you want to jump in there?
Well, we had a separate question, totally changing topics.
Totally changing topics. Let's do it.
Let's talk about something different.
Whiplash.
And very important, called The Mandalorian.
Hi, Mo Show. Have I seen The Mandalorian? Of course. Do you know how Baby Yoda is made and performed? Well, so kind of. That's a great question, Mo Show. The Baby Yoda or Grogu puppet is such a great example of, to me, why puppetry is so important in media. And I believe someone has people have also pointed out that really good CGI looks dated pretty quickly, but a good puppetry performance is amazing forever. You look back 10 years on CGI characters and you're just like, well, you can see that it's evolved. But you look back on original Yoda, or you look back on, some of the animatronic dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, that still holds up because it's real. It's right there. It's in front of, it's there with the actors. And the folks in the Star Wars world have been really good about what now is called practical effects. And the little Grogu puppet is part of that. I don't know how it was made, but I know that there was a lot of silicone involved, and foam. He's made like a regular puppet. I don't know. He's got animatronic features, and I know that sometimes his features are sort of enhanced with CG, which I think is a really great marriage of the two of those technologies. But he's a real. Sometimes
with the faraway shots, they replace it with a real Yoda, right? Just like when you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, real Grogu came in for just a couple shots. Yeah, it was hard to get him on the day though. He's such a diva.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is animatronic, but some of it is actually directly manipulated and has a puppeteer right there. And so you can have people on set reacting to this puppet, and he just stole the show on screen and off. And I'm really happy to have just another example of this is also puppetry, and it's also how good puppetry can be, and how much of a difference puppetry can make, and why you should choose this art form. A lot of people, when they first, like a lot of producers or directors or people who have not used puppetry firsthand and they want that kind of effect, they can sometimes get a little stymied because it's more work than they expected. And in some ways that's a bit of a compliment, because as a puppeteer, our job is to make it look easy, or to make it look like there isn't a puppeteer involved. And so if they don't know all of the things that are required to have a puppet on set, or to have good puppetry in a piece of theater or in a movie, they may get a little stymied by that. But it is really worth the payoff, I think. I think it's really worth it for the connection that you get, the character work that you can get, the immediacy that you get from the puppet being there in the room with you. And so, part of what I have been trying to do with Puppet Kitchen, and hopefully we'll be able to do more of, and have been doing with this show a little bit, is creating some content out there that is informational for people that want to work with puppets in the future. And it can be difficult to work with, but so is animation. And you just have to know the tools. You just have to know what you need to get to use it well. And that information, I don't think there's enough of that information out there, but talking with puppeteers is a really good way to find out what you need. And there are a lot of really great experienced puppeteers out there. And I am always happy to help. Puppet Kitchen is available for consultation and puppet direction. And that is something I want to do more of, and help puppetry be better as an art form.
You recently did some work where the client said they wanted to do a puppet thing, and you had to kind of talk them through what that meant on the day.
That's right.
And then at the end of the gig, they were blown away with how great it was.
That was the case with The Daily Show. The Daily Show has had puppets in the past. There's been some great Wyatt Cenac puppets in the past, but since then there's a new creative team on the Daily Show, and when they reached out to me about bringing a puppet to the show, it was all of their first time working with puppets. So in addition to designing the puppet, they were they were very open to what I had to say about how to work with the puppets, and the things that you need in order to have success with a puppet on camera. And there's not a lot of things. It's not a lot of considerations. It is just some considerations. It is, whenever there's the most obvious thing to talk about is whether or not there's a monitor on screen, or a monitor on set for a puppet on screen. And having a monitor to work with is sort of how the puppeteer sees through the puppet, is that we can see what the audience is seeing. It's how we can look at the camera. It's how we can help frame the shots, how we can get ourselves out of the shot. Having a monitor is just essential. I've often framed it for directors like it's a bit like asking if a cameraman can shoot without a viewfinder, in that it is sort of possible. You could put a GoPro on your head and not know what you're shooting and then frame it later. But it's not the same kind of shooting as if you were trying to get the puppet to address the camera. And so you need a monitor. And anytime a director comes to me and is wondering, do you really need a monitor? I feel bad that instruction isn't out there earlier. That puppets are a thing that people use in film and TV, and people should learn about that when they're learning about film and TV. I think it should be part of, it's just how do you shoot with a musical, or how do you shoot stunts, or how do you shoot special effects, or how do you use green screen? They all take some kind of consideration, and because it's a tool to use for a particular kind of effect, particular part of your movie. So I think there's more that can be done about that. But the Daily Show was great. The folks at the Daily Show were super open. They were very excited about working with me and working with puppets, and they were very and it allowed for us to just kind of be more present in the room and be less worried about the technology and more worried about the scene, which is ultimately what every director wants to think about. They don't want to think about like how far can you move or like what limitations do you have. They want to know what the connection is, what the scene is. So I think that's really important.
And didn't you ended up changing the puppet design a little bit once you had that conversation with them?
That's right.
Because they, at one point, they want the puppet to hold things and they wanted the puppet to eat things.
That's right. There was a lot of, when they first contacted me, they were like, we want a puppet, we want this thing, it should be, this size. And they pointed to like Elmo and Kermit, and I was like, great, yeah, I get it. It's a hand and rod puppet. And then they sent me the script, and in reading the script, it had, the puppet has to like eat stuff, it has to grab things, it has to pass things off. And I was like, well, I really think that this should be a live hand puppet. That's going to save us so much time and energy on set. And saving time and energy on set, like that's the goal. Like you don't want to worry about anything on set if you don't have to, because that's the most expensive time. That's the most precious time. And so we built new arms for that puppet so that he could be a live hand puppet. And it was a consideration for them. It meant they had to hire a second person. They had to hire Jamie to come along with. But if it had been a hand and rod puppet, they would have been spending money on waiting for each of those props to get rigged and then rigged into the puppet's hands. And like it ends up being less expensive to hire another person than it does to spend all of that time on set waiting for stuff to happen. And it looks way better too. And like for this particular script, it made the most sense to do that. And so it was really great that I got a chance to like help review the script and think about it. That's what the puppet captain does, the puppet director does. Like they look at the script with the director and the DP and figure out how the tools of puppetry can best be used. But yeah, that's a good point.
Yes, it was.
Thank you, Katie, for keeping the show running smoothly as usual. So also, I also asked Olga to just put in a couple of questions for me, just in case, if you guys have more questions to ask, please put them in the chat. Even if it's just like describing how your day is going, put an emoji in the chat so we can see how you guys are doing. It's really like the point of this show. Like I created this show so that I could talk to people that I like and admire and just connect with people. And sharing it became something that I thought might be fun for people to join in on, but really it's about me connecting with people. So it's a bit weird to do this show with just me, but I'm really glad that you are all here, and it's nice to hear your great questions and connect with you. I'm also interested in knowing like what you are all working on. You are coming from all different parts of the world. You're all coming from different backgrounds. I want to know what projects you're working on or what's keeping you busy during this pandemic time. If you're a puppeteer, that's great. I totally want to put links to your work in the description here so that we can all see what's going on with you. Puppetry, that's kind of the beauty of a dying art form, is that it is always alive. There is so much happening right now in puppetry. And like I said, it's all online. It's all in the same spot. So the question is really like, I mean, one question is like, do you have Zoom burnout? That's a real question. But like the other question is like, do you have time to see everything? You can obviously get to a lot of the things because they're all online. So let's hear about them. Let's see what you're working on. It also, I want to put out there, like, what do you want us to talk about on Puppet Time Online? If you want to hear about particular parts of puppetry or kinds of puppetry, let me know. Put in the description what you want to hear about. If there are guests you'd like me to reach out to interview in the future, let me know and I will try and get them on the show. If you would like to vote on upcoming guests, or if you want to have more of a say, or you want to like pick up this conversation and keep it going, become a Patreon member. We recently started a Patreon for this show so that you can support Puppet Time Online with a monthly subscription. It's not super expensive, and it does a lot for me and really shows your support. And you can be part of the conversation. Like, it's a great platform to really communicate offline, and we can chat about the show and like build the show together. So consider becoming a Patreon subscriber now that we have that opportunity. And you can also check out our website, puppetkitchen.com. You'll notice that there is also a store there if you want to pick up any Puppet Kitchen merch. There's like sweet puppet duffel bags and water bottles and pop sockets and stuff. The duffel bags are really cool. I got to use mine for the first time when we went to the Daily Show. They look like this. They've got Puppet Kitchen on the side. They're really cool. And they are perfectly sized to put like a hand and rod puppet in. They're really great for carrying a hand and rod puppet and like extra rods and stuff. And there's like pockets. There's lots of pockets for carrying your puppet hat. This is my puppet hat. It's a chef's hat because I'm the Puppet Kitchen. But if it's your baseball cap, that's also good. It's good for carrying masks when you go on set. Everyone should mask up. It's good for carrying your like Leatherman and your tools and your gaff tape and all the stuff that puppeteers always have on hand. Oh my gosh, it's really dusty.
It's too tight. Oh my goodness.
Here's the Puppet Kitchen pop socket you can get, just like my iPhone, just like the phone that shot the moon is cheese. You too can have a Puppet Kitchen pop socket. Anyway, go buy the merch. It also really helps support the show and all of the new, like, original content that we're doing with the Puppet Kitchen. What else did I want to ask about? I don't know. Let me know if there are good perks that you want to be a part of if you join Patreon. I feel like that's a good thing to know about as well. Or if there's other merch that you want us to develop. Puppet Kitchen t-shirts, I think, comes up a lot. So we're working on something like that. But, you know, is it just like, do you want just the logo or do you want some of our designs? Or like, I don't know, what do you want? This is our chance. Like, I want to reach out to you. Like, this is for you. I have a terrible time doing anything if it's just for me. And I have a really much easier time if I'm doing it for someone else. So let me know what I can do for you, I guess is the question. Let me know what Puppet Kitchen can do for you. I want to say thanks again to all of you for being here and for watching and for tuning in. Check out all the old episodes of our show on YouTube. And check out the Daily Show remotely educational. That's right.
Because there were some questions about the link. This looks like it works, but if for some reason you can't find it, you can just go to I just Googled Daily Show remotely educational, and it comes up. So
yeah.
But popping that in the
okay, cool.
In the feed again.
Well, thanks again for joining us. Thank you, Katie, for keeping me on track as usual.
You're so welcome.
And thank you all for your great questions. It's really nice to hear from you. So until next time, just remember you don't have to do everything to do something. We'll see you later.